infrastructure development and support for small businesses. At the same time, the government aims to increase revenue collection and reduce reliance on excessive borrowing. Among the key highlights of the budget are increased allocations to sectors considered through improved tax administration, broader tax compliance, and efforts to seal revenue leakages. Development spending remains significant, with investments planned in roads, housing projects, healthcare services, and digital infrastructure. The budget also seeks to reduce the fiscal deficit while maintaining funding for essential public services and county governments. Before the budget presentation, many Kenyans expected substantial relief from the rising cost of living, lower taxation, more employment opportunities for the youth, and increased support for small and medium-sized enterprises. Citizens hoped that lessons from previous public opposition to tax increases would lead to a more people-centered fiscal plan. There was also a strong expectation that the government would prioritize reducing public debt pressures and channel more resources towards productive sectors that directly impact household incomes. However, some of these expectations appear to have been met only partially or have taken a different direction. Instead of major tax reductions, the government continues to focus on widening the tax base and strengthening compliance to achieve ambitious revenue targets. While the budget emphasizes economic growth and fiscal sustainability, many Kenyans may feel that immediate relief measures are limited compared to their expectations. Concerns remain over continued borrowing, high living costs, and whether the planned investments will translate into quick job creation and improved household welfare. As a result, the budget presents a contrast between the government's long-term economic objectives and the short-term expectations of the ordinary citizens. This is Budget 2026-2027. Welcome back to Budget 2026-2027. 2027. Now, the 2026-2027 national budget totals approximately 4.82 trillion Kenyan shillings, making it the largest budget in Kenya's history. The budget is designed to support economic growth, improve public services, strengthen social protection, and advance the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Of the total 4.82 trillion budget, approximately 2.89 trillion has been allocated to national government operations, including the executive, the parliament, and the judiciary. Further, 1.50 trillion has been set aside for consolidated fund services, which includes public debt servicing, pensions, and other statutory obligations. County governments will receive 420 billion as the equitable share of national revenue, representing a continued commitment to devolution. The government projects total revenue of approximately 3.63 trillion, leaving a fiscal deficit of about 1.19 trillion. This deficit will be financed through a mix of domestic and external borrowing. Education remains the single largest beneficiary of government expenditure, receiving 781.4 billion. This massive allocation is intended to support basic education, junior secondary education, teacher employment, universities, technical training institutions, and education infrastructure. Within this allocation, 4.9 billion has been provided to absorb 20,000 intern teachers into permanent and pensionable employment. Another 56.7 billion has been allocated to the Higher Education Loans Board to support university and college students. The health sector has received 175.5 billion to support universal health coverage, primary health care, medical infrastructure, and health service delivery. Of this amount, 19.1 billion has been allocated to the Primary Health Care Fund to strengthen community health services and local health facilities. A further 4 billion has been set aside for the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund to assist the Kenyans requiring specialized treatment. The Global Fund program has received 18.5 billion to support HIV, AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis interventions. County governments will receive an equitable share of 420 billion. In addition to this, counties are expected to benefit from approximately 75.7 billion in additional allocations and conditional grants from the national government and development partners. This brings total support to counties to nearly 496 billion. The government has allocated approximately 749 billion to development expenditure. These resources will finance roads, energy projects, affordable housing, water projects, ICT, infrastructure, agriculture, and other development priorities aimed at stimulating economic growth and creating employment. Recurrent expenditure is estimated at approximately 3.54 trillion. This component will cover public servant salaries, government operations, security services, healthcare operations, education capitation, and public debt obligations. Security remains one of the government's highest priorities. Approved estimates show that national security continues to attract hundreds of billions of shillings through funding for the National Police Service, Kenya Defence Forces, National Intelligence Service, border security operations, and counter-terrorism programs. The agriculture sector continues to benefit from substantial funding through fertilizer subsidy programs, irrigation development, livestock support, value chain development, and food security initiative. These investments are intended to increase food production, reduce import dependence, and improve farmer incomes. The affordable housing program remains a major government priority. Funding for housing project is expected to support construction activities across the country, create thousands of jobs, and expand access to affordable home ownership. Social protection programs continue to receive funding for older persons, persons with disabilities, orphans, and other vulnerable groups. These programs are intended to reduce poverty and provide direct support to households experiencing economic hardship. The government also continue to invest in youth employment and small business development through the ASLA Fund, Youth Enterprise Programs, and Digital Economy Initiative. These programs are expected to support entrepreneurship, improve access to credit, and expand employment opportunities. One of the largest expenditure pressures in the budget remains public servicing or public debt servicing. A significant portion of the 1.50 trillion allocated to consolidated fund services will go toward the repayment of domestic and external debt, interest payments, pensions, and other mandatory government obligations. Now, we are having some of the very key questions that are arising from the budget 2026 and 2027. And one of the very key questions we need to ask ourselves is, why does the government need to borrow 1.2 trillion despite promises to reduce dependence on debt? Another question, how will the borrowed funds be utilized, and what measures are in place to ensure accountability and value for money? Then, what impact will the additional borrowing have on Kenya's total public debt and future generations? If revenue collection is projected to increase significantly, why is there still a large financing gap requiring borrowing? Then, how much of the budget is allocated to debt repayment compared to development and service delivery? Another question, what specific interventions have been included to lower the cost of living for ordinary Kenyans? Then, how many jobs is the budget expected to create, particularly for the youth? What direct benefits will small and medium-sized enterprises, and this is what we call SMEs, receive under this budget? Then, why do some sectors receive increased funding while critical areas such as health, education, or agriculture may still face challenges? Then, what safeguards have been put in place to prevent misuse of public funds and corruption? Then, how will county governments benefit from the budget, and will the allocations be sufficient to support devolution? Then, what is the government's long-term plan to reduce borrowing and achieve fiscal sustainability? Will the projected economic growth be strong enough to justify the level of spending and borrowing? How will this budget improve the lives of ordinary Kenyans in the short term rather than only promising long-term benefits? Then, can the government guarantee that future tax measures will not increase the burden on citizens to service the growing public debt? And I think, as far as the budget is concerned, this 11th day of June 2026, we are not ending there. There is something that the newspaper this day had covered, and that is another transition that we are moving into before we get to the bulletin this evening. And there are some very key things I just want to mention to you before we get to that. And the Standard is putting it very clearly, and this is a story as of today regarding the budget 2026-2027, and it's all about the people versus body, because there is a time it looked like something of a sort of public participation when he was moving around town, and he was seen along Moi Avenue trying to ask people what they expect as far as the budget read today is concerned. A lot of people show a lot of dissatisfaction as far as the budget is concerned, and that's why the Standard today highlighted some of the things, and this is people versus body. Now, we're looking at money matters, where Treasury CS John Badi unveils a 4.82 trillion budget today after the opposition and the Umbrella United Alternative Government unveiled a rival budget of 4.3 trillion, and this is people's budget yesterday, in which they proposed spending cash scraping of SHA and the housing levy and increased funding for health and education. Now, the Kenya Kwanza government is under immense pressure due to soaring fuel prices, rising inflation, and growing resistance to new taxes. The ordinary mwananchi says the government under President William Ruto is tone deaf to what matters to them as it continues spending beyond its means while burdening Kenyans with higher taxes and heavy borrowing to fund a ballooning budget. And We're looking at what the rival budget as far as the opposition is concerned, and we are looking at what the government proposed, and we have had all this information declared or even shared with you. Now we're looking at the total budget as far as the opposition is concerned, and we're looking at 4.32 trillion, and all cuts are concentrated in executive administrative waste, non-essential security, overhead, vanity, infrastructure, and cancelled contracts. Then we're also looking at projected ordinary revenue, and this is around 3.72 trillion. This will include sale of stalled affordable housing projects at market value, simplified rental income taxation targeting large-scale property investors, evading taxes through complexity. Then the last proposition from the opposition government is all about the fiscal deficit, and we are looking at 593.5 billion. This is domestic borrowing kept at 500 billion, getting rid of ghost workers, duplicate payments, and we're looking at something called reprioritization of non-essential capital projects. Then what the government had proposed, we're looking at the total budget of 4.82 trillion, and this is an increase of 124.9 billion from the 2025-2026 supplementary estimates, estimate 1, with recurrent expenditure rising due to higher interest payment on existing public debt. We're also looking at the second proposition, which is projected ordinary revenue, and this is the rival of the opposition government, and we're looking at 2.99 trillion, and this will largely be driven by improved performance, income tax, VAT, import duty, and excess duty collections. However, the tax revenue is expected to decline due to the sale of public entities. Then we are looking at the contrary of the same, with is the fiscal deficit, and this is around 1.11 trillion, and this will primarily be financed through domestic borrowing, approximately 90% of total financing, indicating a significant reliance on local sources. Now, something very keen that will be giving at a glance, we're looking at 4.82 trillion, and this is Kenya's budget for 2026-2027 financial year. Then we are looking at 2.899. This is what the national government will spend on of this. 1.98 trillion will be recurrent, and 845 billion will go to the development. Now we're looking at 420 billion. We're looking at the county's allocation. Then we are looking at 50.8 billion. We're looking at Parliament's allocation. Now we're also looking at 34.4 billion, and this is judiciary's allocation. Now the budget will be financed through 3.63 and a total revenue that includes tax revenue, which is of 2.99 trillion, and appropriation in aid is or about 644 billion. Now we're also looking at 1.11 trillion, and as I said, this is a budget deficit which will be financed through 99.78 billion. This is domestic debt, and 116.2 billion, and this is foreign borrowing. Now I think that's a bit of what we had to share with you as far as the budget 2026-2027 is concerned. Now we take a minute for a break, and then we're coming back with JKS Thursdays. Keep around. Good evening, and again the 11th day of June 2026, and this is JKS Thursday. Remember, we are coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and you can watch again this program through our social media platforms. EBN TV Kenya across again, who is helping us in the sign language interpretation is Alfred Mwangi. Now to the second segment of JKS Thursdays, where National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi has presented Kenya's 2026-2027 budget valued at 4.8 trillion, making it the largest budget in the country's history. The budget introduces several key measures, including no new taxes on M-Pesa transactions, no charges or changes to land ownership laws, and 20% tax on gambling winnings, and tax relief for selected goods and development projects. In the allocation of funds, the national government will receive 2.88 trillion, Parliament 48.7 billion, the judiciary 30.4 billion, and county governments 428.4 billion. Speaking on the health sector, Badi said the government will continue paying outstanding NHIF debts to ensure healthcare facilities receive their dues. He revealed that 31.2 million Kenyans have registered under the Social Health Authority, compared to about 8 million who were covered by the now defunct NHIF. He also noted that 228 primary healthcare networks have been established nationwide, while 107,831 community health promoters have been recruited and trained. Additionally, 16,810 medical interns have completed their internship training to support healthcare delivery. But he added that 4 billion was allocated in the 2025-2026 financial year to settle NHIF debts owed to contracted health facilities, with priority given to verified claims of up to 10 million in line with the presidential directive. Take a look.
The pending bills verification committee was established in November 2023 to review and validate outstanding claims and provide a credible basis for settlement. The committee has since concluded its work and analyzed a total of 91,911 pending bill claims valued at over 637 billion shillings. Following this verification exercise, 29,885 claims amounting to 235.6 billion have been recommended for settlement. Of this amount, Kenya shillings 80.3 billion has already been settled through securitization in the road sector, leaving a verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion Kenya shillings for other sectors. Mr. Speaker, to settle the verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion Kenya shillings, the National Treasury has proposed a balanced and sustainable settlement strategy, which includes a combination of direct budgetary allocations and securitization. The proposal is to settle the verified outstanding balance of 155.3 billion over 2 years, starting with the financial year 2026-2027. Mr. Speaker, in the financial year 2026-27, the National Treasury is proposing a budgetary provision of 68 billion to settle the verified pending bills to suppliers and contractors owed by the government for amounts of up to 100 million shillings. This provision will also partly settle suppliers or contractors whose pending bills exceed 100 million shillings, ensuring that no supplier is excluded. With the settlement of this 68 billion worth of claims, the government will have settled 99% of the verified outstanding pending bills, representing 63% of the total value.
And a story similar to the same we've just given to you, the Kenyan government has allocated 68 billion in the 2026-2027 financial year to settle verified pending bills owed to suppliers and contractors, according to the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi. Badi said the pending bills verification committee reviewed 91,911 claims worth more than 637 billion and recommended the payment of 29,895 claims valued at 235.6 billion. Of this amount, 80.3 billion has already been paid through a road sector securitization program, leaving a balance of 155.3 billion across other sectors. The government plans to clear the remaining balance over the next 2 financial years, beginning 2026 2026-2027, and Badi noted that priority will be given to claims of up to 100 million, a move aimed at boosting cash flow for small and medium-sized enterprises and contractors, enabling them to sustain and expand their business operations.
Health financing. A total of 31.2 million Kenyans are now registered under the Social Health Authority, compared to about 8 million under the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund, while 228 primary care networks have been established and operationalized. A total of 107,831 community health promoters have been recruited and trained, while 16,810 medical interns have undergone internship, bringing healthcare services closer to communities. Mr. Speaker, the government recognizes the critical role the contracted healthcare facilities play in the delivery of healthcare services to Kenyans. It is with this in mind that the government in the current financial year of 25-26 allocated 4 billion for settlement of outstanding National Hospital Insurance Fund pending bills. And going forward, we will settle the balance of the bills that are owed under the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund and which span over the years. Mr. Speaker, this allocation is specifically designated for settlement of NHIF pending bills owed to contracted health care facilities in accordance with the presidential directive that prioritized the clearance of outstanding obligations for facilities with claims not exceeding 10 million shillings. The claims earmarked for settlement under this allocation have been duly verified.
And the residents at Kongoya Market have expressed dissatisfaction with the 4.8 trillion 2026-2027 national budget presented today, saying it offers little relief from the high cost of living affecting their daily life. Speaking at the market, residents cited rising transportation costs, particularly fuel prices, as a major challenge that continues to hurt businesses and household incomes. They noted that even goods purchased at low prices from farms end up being sold at higher prices in the market due to increased transport expenses. The residents called on the government to reduce its expenditure, especially spending on leaders, to ensure more resources benefit ordinary citizens. They added that high fuel costs have negatively affected trade, employment opportunities, and earnings for small-scale businesses owners. Many also say the current economic situation has made it difficult to pay rent and cover transportation costs, with some being forced to walk long distances because they cannot afford public transport fares.
Sisi kama wananchi wa kawaida tumefinyirika kimaisha. Bajeti hii ya 4.8 trillion kwa kwetu tunaona haifai, kwa sababu viongozi wetu matumizi yao iko juu sana. So wao wakati wanatuambia watapunguza 0.2, kwetu sisi hatuoni kama ina umuhimu wowote. Maana unakuta kama ni transport iko juu. So by the time tunatoa mizigo yetu mashambani kulete sokoni, inakuwa hamna kitu yote sisi kama wananchi wa kawaida tunapata. So kwetu sisi bajeti hii leo mwanzo haina umuhimu mkubwa kwetu.
Kitu wapunguze basi.
Wapunguze bajeti yao yao wenyewe ya matumizi yao. Aswa kama jana tulipoona ule ule mkaguzi alisema bajeti ya viongozi wetu iko juu. Kwa hivyo waanze na hiyo yao ili mwananchi wa kawaida aweze kufaidika.
Hii mafuta na maisha ya sahi ya Kenya inatupeleka vibaya sana. Kwa sababu gani? Tunashindwa hata kulipa rent, tunashindwa hata kupanda gari, tunaenda kibarua kutafuta na tukirudi tunarudi mguu kwa sababu hatujapata chochote. Watupunguzie mafuta na watushukishie ushuru angalau.
Mimi ni mkazi wa hapa Kongoya sokoni. Bajeti yetu inaenda kusomwa leo, lakini kusema ukweli ni bajeti ambayo inagandamiza mwananchi wa kawaida. Kwa sababu ukiweza kuangalia especially swala letu kuu leo, tunaomba tu wizara ya kawi ikiongozwa na Bwana Upio Wandai pamoja na serikali yote kwa ujumla waweze kufanya marekebisho, kwa sababu mafuta
In case you're joining us now, this is JKS Thursdays on EBN TV, and we are moving on with our stories. And our story away from the budget 2026. Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs, Geoffrey Kiringa Ruku, has called for collaboration between the government, private sector, and development partners to build an inclusive economy that empowers women, youth, and marginalized groups. Speaking at the third Africa Women Transformation Summit held in Nairobi, Ruku encouraged women leaders and private sector stakeholders to invest in innovation, entrepreneurship, and modern technologies in order to drive economic development. He noted that women and youth are the engines of Africa's economy, but they still face social and economic barriers that prevent them from fully accessing opportunities.
Those who are in region offices or sub-county offices are not putting the best foot forward, then we say government is not working properly. And therefore, the President of the Republic of Kenya, ameanguka. Is it the President? President has provided budget, offices, guidance. Ministers are there. Principal secretaries are there. Senior government officials are there. It is us who are not doing what we are supposed to do. We have entitlements to these offices. We think we are permanent and pensionable. We can't be taken anywhere. And that kind of attitude ends up dampening the spirit of entrepreneurs who are seated here. You go to an office to get a certain government service, you are taken round and round so that you can bribe so-and-so, so that you can, I don't know, do one. So the business which you are supposed to be doing is not well facilitated, not because of the leadership of the government. It is because of a few public servants who are entitled, who are become lazy, who think the biggest thing that can be done to them.
Civil society organizations under the Elimu Yetu coalition have declared the rising cases of violence and unrest across in schools across Kenya a national crisis, calling on the government to immediately reinstate midterm breaks and implement comprehensive reforms in the education sector. Speaking during a stakeholders conference at Royal Castle Hotel in Mombasa, the coalition's national coordinator Joseph Wasikongo said recent incidents involving dormitory fire, school closures, and disruptions to learning are symptoms of deeper, long-standing challenges within the education system. The coalition urged the government and education stakeholders to take urgent action to improve learning environments, safeguard students' well-being, and prevent further cases of unrest in schools nationwide.
Most of the challenges that face learners with special needs are schools that we need to increase the number of special needs schools in our county and even in the counties surrounding Mombasa, because most of the learners cannot access the schools due to distance and transport. Some of the schools have buses that have been donated, but they also face other challenges like fueling and insurance, and sometimes when they break down, there is no one to repair them. So when there is no transport, you find that the learners fail to attend school. So a lot of learners also do not have mobility devices and other assistive devices, and most of them are very expensive. So support is required to ensure that learners get the assistive devices that they need, and also registration, creating awareness to have learners registered with the National Council for Persons with Disability, and to give them access to the services that they require, especially therapy. Therapy is quite expensive and most of the learners are not.
Kwa hivyo tuko katika harakati kuhakikisha kwamba tunafanya ufuatilizi na kuhakikisha kwamba tumepata the accurate data ya kufanya operational. Tunajua kuna uzito wa masuala mambo ya assistive devices ya elimu jumuishi ili kuwezesha watoto na walioko mahitaji maalum wapate kusoma katika shule za kawaida, na tunapata kushikilia serikali kuwajibika, nasi tukijaribu kusupport kama mashirika kuhakikisha kwamba katika ile mianya ambayo imebaki.
University students have been asked to reject corruption, cheating and academic dishonesty and instead uphold integrity in order to build a strong and ethical nation. Speaking during the launch of the Ethics and Integrity Club at Mount Kenya University, Thika, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC Chairperson Dr. David Oginde called on young people to take the lead in fighting corruption, warning that it undermines the economy and national values. The leadership of Kimaiyu said the institution has introduced a course on ethics and citizenship to strengthen moral education, while the Ministry of Youth continues to encourage young people to embrace good governance and ethical leadership in national development.
Have a significant role to play in rebuilding trust. This lies in your power to reshape and influence the ethical standards for your generation. By influencing fellow peers, refusing to tolerate evil. When somebody does evil around you, you must refuse and help them to follow the right path. Plagiarism in exams, cheating, copying, all those are signs of corruption that begin very small but grows into big things. We must shape our conversations on social media. How do we interact with each other? What kind of language are we promoting? We must make decisions that shape how communities are built. We must lead as young people by action and by example.
Jubilee Party Deputy Leader Fred Matiang'i has urged residents of Kisii County and Kenyans at large to uphold peace and unity as the country prepares for next year's general election. Speaking during a tour of Kisii County alongside Richard Onyonga and other leaders, Matiang'i encouraged citizens to conduct political campaigns peacefully and elect leaders who prioritize unity, development, and social stability. He also condemned acts of violence and retaliation, emphasizing that all disputes should be resolved through legal channels. Matiang'i noted that legal processes are underway to ensure that individuals involved in criminal activities are held accountable in accordance with the law.
Ninawaomba tafadhali sisi wote tuweke amani, na hata wakati huu wa uchaguzi tutafute kura kwa njia ya amani, sababu nyinyi wenyewe mnajua kuchagua, na tutachaguana sisi polepole na tuchague viongozi wale ambao wanaweka amani. Tuheshimiane sisi wote. Nchi yetu ni nchi ya kidemokrasia. Hata wale ambao hatukubaliani nao, wale wako na mawazo tofauti na yetu, wote ni ndugu zetu. Tuwaheshimu, tuweke amani. Na wale ndugu zetu ambao wako na nafasi ya kuongoza sasa, tunawaheshimu, watufanyie kazi kwa heshima, kwa mapenzi na kwa kuweka amani, hasa katika tauni yetu ya Kisii Town. Ninawaomba tafadhali, kama kiongozi, siwezi kuwaambia eti tuchukue sheria kwa mikono yetu, sasa tuanze kulipiza kisasi na mambo kama hayo. Tukifanya hivyo tutaharibu nchi yetu. Kwa sasa tutafuata sheria. Tumeongea na mawakili, tutafuata sheria kabisa vile inatakikana, ili tuhakikishe kwamba wale walifanya uhalifu wamepatikana na wameadhibiwa. Lakini serikali yetu ijue kwamba hatuwezi kuwa eti kila wakati tutahubiri tufuatie amani na wao wenyewe hawafuati hiyo amani. Tunataka kila mtu aheshimu sheria. kila mtu aishi kwa heshima na kwa amani, na viongozi wote wawe wale wako kwa serikali, wale wako tuko sisi upinzani, tuongee mambo ya uongozi wa Kisii kwa heshima na kwa amani bila kudhulumu mtu yeyote.
All right. You're just making me happy by the following that you are doing on our JK's Thursday's edition this evening. Now, I'm looking at a comment here tonight. I'm Team Mexico. What about you, Jeff? And this is a comment from Cynthia Nanjala. She's been one of us and she's been so great at EBN TV. Now, Cynthia, I'm not good in sports. Nitafutie timu, I'll join after news. Now, Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir has called for a major crackdown on unlicensed alcohol outlets, warning that the rise of illegal alcohol businesses is exposing residents to counterfeit and unsafe products. Speaking during the opening of the second annual conference of alcohol licensing and regulatory boards held in Mombasa, Nasir revealed that more than 3,000 alcohol outlets operate in the county, but only about 800 are officially registered. He emphasized the need for strict enforcement to protect public health and ensure compliance with licensing regulations.
To appeal to the county government and council of governors, and I'm here, the chair council of governors of health is here. Counties, we need to review our alcoholic drink acts, because most of us, we are looking at this as a revenue. The issue is that these things should be a fund, and this fund should support things like rehabilitation, the community programs, and all that. So as we have this discussion, let us also discuss on how we can harmonize our alcoholic drink acts so that we move together, because we are serving the same stakeholders.
Would like for liquor boards across the country to have similar rules. Right now, different counties have different rules, and we would like someone to be sure about, if I'm to open a business in Nairobi and another branch in Mombasa, I want to be sure we are working on the same sort of platform.
The bottom line for all of us here, all the stakeholders, is just to ensure that alcoholism or alcohol, not alcoholism, but alcohol drinks, sales, distribution, and consumption is well regulated so that it doesn't become harmful. But as we support even the communities, ours is to make sure that it is regulated in a way that nobody.
All right, thank you. Before we get to the next story, I think Team South Africa, I'm responding to one of our followers, and this is Cynthia Nanjala. But all in all, may I join the winning team. Hata kama niko Team Mexico na ishindwe, I'll join South Africa. Now, on a different story, a major disturbance erupted at Embu Hospital Morgue on Tuesday, June 10th, 2026, after thousands of border riders forced their way into the facility, demanding the immediate release of the body of their colleague Peter Mburu, who died in a road accident. The riders, who gathered from different parts of Embu County, disrupted hospital operations for several hours, alleging that hospital officials were delaying the release of the body despite the family having completed or required procedure. The incident caused a significant disruption at the facility as tensions escalated over the handling of the deceased remains.
Kitu saa 4 afanywa postmortem ndo saa tupoea tumpeleke huko Kakwegole. Lakini tulipokuja na mamake tukatumwa hapo chini kwa polisi tuende tuelezee juu tulikuwa na hadi ombi. Kufika hapo mamake alisema hakuna need ya kijana afanywe postmortem. So tukatumwa hadi huko kwa wakili tuende tuchukue affidavit ambayo ndo hii hapa. Tukaenda tukaandikwa affidavit na nikalipa gidi 3. Akaeka hadi sign ndo hii hapa. Tukarudi tena hadi hapa mochari. Kukuja hapa tumekuwa like almost 6 hours hadi saa hii, lakini hakuna kitu yote inaendelea.
Tumekuja leo huku morgue kuangalia mmoja wetu ambaye alipata accident jana, na vile tulimuleta jana hadi wa leo mpaka saa hii hajakuwa ameshughulikiwa. Si tukasema kama sekta yetu ya bodaboda tukuje transfer mwili yetu tuipeleke pale kwa Kwegori, lakini sasa kufika huku level 5 tunapata huku level 5 mambo tunapelekwa hivi kuzungushwa, hatuwataki kutupea mwili ya mtu wetu.
Ule daktari alikuwa pale, alikuwa anatusungusha hivi, alikuwa anajua mwili iwezi tolewa hapa bila postmortem ikiwa na OB, na hao wakatusungusha hivi ndio wakule pesa yetu. Sasa tunasema hivi, si kwanza tunataka pesa zetu na tunataka mwili, na wakifanyia postmortem tunataka hiyo figo wametoa. Juu wanataka kutoa figo na watoa hizo nini? Maburu kenge. Sasa sisi tumesema hivi, wakifanya postmortem sisi tunaenda na mwili paka kotini. Sasa usiasi anasema anataka nini hata.
Residents of Kakamega County are in mourning following the tragic death of a husband and wife who lost their lives after being electrocuted by a voltage live wire outside their home. According to the family members, the incident occurred at night when the husband stepped outside and unknowingly came into contact with a fallen power line near their homestead. His wife rushed to help after hearing his cries, but was also electrocuted in the process. Relatives say the power line was believed to have been properly installed, leaving many questioning how it came to fall and become a danger to residents. They added that the victims were unaware of the risk when they stepped outside their house. A child who witnessed part of the incident reportedly alerted other family members.
Uokozi kwa bahati mbaya wote wakaangamia, ndiposa hatuna la kusema, bali tunaona ni karama kweli kweli ambayo boma haliwezi, sababu stima iliunganishwa vizuri, lakini bahati mbaya hatujui nini ilitendeka kwa waya kando na mahali waliangamia. Kwa hivyo hawakujua ya kwamba mahali wanaenda kuna shida ambayo itawakumba. Mahali waya imeshikana ni kando na moto ikasambaa kwa mabati yote bila kufahamu hao, ndiposa by bad luck wakaangukia hiyo mahali.
Tukatafuta kujua pahali chanzo cha hii jambo. Wakanielezea alikuwa amepanda hapo nyuma kurekebisha waya ilikuwa hapo ndani. Wakati mama ama pipi yake alipoona huyu amenaswa na akaenda amuokoe, tena yeye pia kanaswa.
Dia aliona, alipata nje mama ameanguka kwa sufuria, ndio akaenda kuita nyanya yake, na nyanya yake akakucha na ndugu yake mkubwa. Hapo na hapo wakaanza kusaidiana. Ndugu yake mkubwa akashika hiyo waya ndugu yake alikuwa ameshika, pia ikamsutua. Akakimbia kwenda kwa shemeki yake. Akafikiria akishika hii sufuria mwake chini atakuwa amemuokoa. Kumbe tena sufuria hiyo moto imeshika. Ndiposa akaanza kuhangaika kutafuta mali pa switch kubwa iko, na akakuja kuswitch hiyo mali penye switch ilikuwa, na akasimisha moto.
There is a growing concern that many young people today are neglecting their traditional cultures while embracing foreign lifestyle and fashion trends. This has prompted the National Polytechnic in Bungoma to organize a cultural festival aimed at encouraging students to reconnect with their cultural heritage and also learn about traditions from other communities. The institution's principal, Dr. Godfrey Murunga, emphasized the importance of the festival, highlighting the need for students to embrace national clothing and indigenous foods as part of preserving cultural identity. Students led by lecturer Charity Musima said preparations have been put in place to ensure the week-long cultural celebrations are successful, with the main event scheduled for Friday.
The way Ruya's dance may not be the same as the Turkana's dance. So it's also a platform that will enable various teams to display their traditional dances. An opportunity for us to remember those various housing styles. And over time, those styles have informed new designs, provide a platform for promotion of national cohesion as one of the value principles that is being implemented by the national government on its agenda. It's a platform that promotes free mingling of communities from which we have drawn our students and members of staff.
Being a national polytechnic, we have these students from different communities.
Bishop Atundo High School, Kimaiyu are the new boys football champions at the Kimaiyu sub-county level in Bungoma County. Kimaiyu defeated their rivals St. Kizito Masielo 2-0 or 2-0 in the final played at Kimwanga Primary School grounds. The two second-half goals secured Kimaiyu the title and a place to represent the region in the county level competition scheduled for June 17th to 20th. Kimaiyu have been placed in the same group as Kabula Marobo for the upcoming matches. The school's game teacher Wycliffe Ochembo expressed confidence that the team is aiming to qualify for the Western Region Championships this year, citing the squad's growing maturity and strong performance.
Now going back to the group, the group at the national, at the county, our neighbors from Muna, that's Kabula. Kabula is not our competitor. They are much below our class, and therefore I don't see a competitor from the Mula. Well, this year, as I said earlier, I have a very strong team, and therefore I'm not going nothing short of the regionals. And as the day says, we are actually, our target is at the nationals, and we are determined to, given that we have our able principle, we will still enable us to reach there. Tulipanga vizuri, train ndio hata kama mfano walikuwa saidi yao, lakini tulikuwa na Mungu, tumejituma tu until the last season. Made national, tunaenda hapo county, tuna compete, si participate, tunakuja kama underdogs wao, lakini tunajituma na tumejiandaa kupita hapa. Na kwa mwaka huu tumeona mashindano yamekuwa ya juu sana, na pia inatokea pia kama eneo hili inaonyesha umaarufu wa mchezo kwa njia ya soka, na sisi tumefurahia sana. Our competitors wametufanya pia tumejua some of the weaknesses zetu na strength. Going forward, at least we are going to work hard. We are very happy for the competition that they have given us. Inatusaidia kuendelea mbele.
Now, sampling some of your feedbacks and engagements, we are looking at a few. Good evening, JK. This is from Dina Mwanya. Dina Mwanya again watching from Buruburu. We have Martin Masharia following. We have Ndanu Felistas tuned in. Sami Murunga, Machakos is watching. We have Alfred Mwangi watching from Kiambu County. And there is a question here. Tonight, I am Team Mexico. What about you, Jeff? And this is from Cynthia Nanjala. And I've said clearly, I go with the winning team. So I belong to all teams. And then there is a response here. She's loving. Okay, just join us, please. And this is Team Mexico watching. Very informative. The team is doing a great job. I think richer as far as the engagement is concerned. And you feedback. Thank you for watching. And may God bless you so much. And one thing you need to be so aware of is that leaving your home safe, getting to work safe, moving from work to home safely, and reaching there safely is one of the biggest miracles that you can have as a person. And it requires you to be so appreciative and to thank your maker so much. Thank you for watching JK's Thursdays. Who has been helping us in the sign language interpretation is Alfred Mwangi. Sorry, I don't know why I'm going to Monday, but is Alfred Mwangi. My name is Jeffrey Kimaiyu Somba, and that story brings us to the end of JK's Thursdays. You have yourselves a good night.